Hi, I'm Suffolk County Legislator Jay Schneiderman, and welcome to South Fork Focus. This is the first edition of the show. On this show, we're going to feature local organizations, various things going on in the community, topics of local interest. And today we have two very special guests in the audience. We have Terry Sultan, who's the director of the Parrish Art Museum, and we have Andrea Grover, who's the curator of special projects. And I think probably everybody at this point has noticed the new Parrish Art Museum. You can't actually drive out to the Hamptons and not see it. It's quite a large building. It's right there on the main road on 27 as you drive east or west, I suppose. And it's an extraordinary building, an extraordinary piece of architecture. And I'm very pleased to have both of you here with me in the studio.
Thank you.
And I'd love to introduce the community to the parish. They've known it in the old location. Now they have the new location, and I know you have expanded the museum, not just in size, but also in its mission. So,
absolutely.
Would you introduce us?
I will.
Terry?
I will. I have a beautiful picture here of our building on Montauk Highway. What I like to say about what we've done is move out of the village of Southampton into the Switzerland of the Hamptons. And what I mean by that is that by being in Watermill, we become the center for cultural engagement for the entire East End. And it's been borne out because we know from gathering zip codes from people who have been coming to visit that we're getting visitors from Montauk all the way to West Hampton, Quogue are coming to visit the museum.
Now, the original design of the museum was quite different than what it ended up. I remember seeing some drawings of various cubes, boxes that were aligned, some very modern design, but it ended up being a very elongated building, very simple, stark in a way. We have a picture of it here, and I think occasionally we'll try to get it up on the screen. But can you tell us a little bit about this design?
This design was really inspired by the vernacular agriculture architecture of the East End. And anybody who's driven around the back roads knows about the concrete potato barns with the corrugated aluminum roofs. The other thing that was an inspiration to the architects, who were Herzog and de Meuron, the Swiss architects who designed the de Young Museum in San Francisco, as well as the Bird's Nest for the Beijing Olympics. They came out here and did a lot of research, and they did look at the barns. They also looked at the repurposed barns that the artists have been using, turning them from barns into artist studios. And that is what inspired them to do this building. So it was really intended that when you're inside in the galleries, it feels as though you're looking at art in an artist studio.
And so the experience of the viewer in this, you have a very long central hallway, is that right? And then you have two sides. So this is okay.
So I can show you. It basically is a double barn with a central spine, and the spine goes all the way through the building, and that's a nice shot of that. So that the flow through the building is actually incredibly simple. It's just a beautiful straight shot from one end to the other.
I noticed when I'm one of the fortunate people who've seen the museum so far, and I know everybody in the community is going to go see it.
I hope so.
But I know from my own personal experience, when I went there, that hallway sort of draws you in. Is that the intention?
Yes, yes. So the idea is that, that everything flows in a very casual and intimate way from the spine of the museum, so that you think about the museum almost as a living thing with an actual nerve center, which is the spine, where everybody comes, and then you can go into the galleries on either side of the spine.
Now, I also noticed a lot of raw materials, concrete that's not covered by any surfaces. Was that also part of the thinking, to expose elements of this building? Yeah,
the core values of the Parrish Art Museum as a museum is about exploration of the creative process. That's one of the things that we do because we are in the center of one of the most important artist communities in the world. And so the idea is to reveal what goes on behind the magic curtain. And by revealing the rough concrete, leaving the plywood in the ceilings, showing the beams, even showing the sprinkler system, showing the aluminum roof. It's all meant to make it so that you as a viewer understand essentially how the building went together. And I think it really works. It also makes for a very casual atmosphere.
Terry, talk to me a little bit about light, because this area obviously is known for the famous quality of light that drew so many artists, the de Koonings and the Pollocks, out to this area.
Yeah.
But as you display art, light is also critical.
Absolutely.
So this building seems to be designed to let a lot of natural light in. Is that right?
That is right. The building is actually oriented into the site, not parallel to Montauk Highway, but at an angle, so that the north slopes of the roofs face true north. So that when you're in the galleries with the skylights, you are experiencing absolutely the most perfect light in which to view works of art. And through our research, we know that all of the artist studios out here that have skylights always face north. We worked with a lighting engineer from London by the name of Andy Sedgwick, who works for Arup Lighting Design. And he did a lot of research and read articles by a physicist who was working in Connecticut that did a research on why the light on the east end of Long Island looks the way it does. And it has to do actually with the moisture molecular particles that are in the air that refract light. So most of the time, because our galleries are skylit, when you're looking at works of art in the museum, you're going to be seeing it the way the artist painted it. But, you know, at 3 o'clock in February, it gets dark, and he designed for us a color-balanced fluorescent light system that actually emulates the flavor, the color, and the texture of the light of the East End.
Can I ask you, how big is the actual building? I mean, it seems to go on forever. So what's the square footage?
It's 34,000 square feet, but the building is 614 feet long. And that is 2 football fields, or 3.5 747s, or the distance between 5th Avenue and 6th Avenue if you walk down 57th Street.
Now, somebody who spent a portion of his life as chair of a zoning board in East Hampton, I mean, the controversy over any big boxy type of structures always was enormous. So. And now it's built. So was it difficult getting the permits to build it, getting through all that, and what has been the community response to it?
Okay, well, it's not a big boxy building.
No, it's not.
It's really a very narrow and elegant building. It presents.
It presents
yes.
as a.
But I think it presents quite beautifully, and when the meadow comes in the south, which it will starting in the spring, those grasses are going to be 2 or 3 feet high, so it will be very low in the landscape. And in fact, the building was really designed to rest very gently into that landscape. It's only 32 feet high.
Was there resistance
None.
locally to
No.
the design? Everybody embraced it, and after it was built, I know some people at first maybe. Didn't embrace it, but now I think are coming to see the beauty of it.
It's been actually a wonderful and overwhelmingly positive response. There have been people who were a bit skeptical about the raw concrete, the aluminum roof, and some people who said, I really wanted not to like the building. But once I got close to the building and then stepped inside and saw what the interior was like, I fell in love.
Right.
And it's the interiors are just marvelous.
Right. And so the old building, what happens to the old building in Southampton?
Well, we do not own that building. The history of the Parrish Art Museum is actually an interesting one. I'll try to make it a long story short. Sure. But Mr. Parrish himself, Samuel Longstreth Parrish, was a Quaker from Philadelphia, went to Harvard, studied law, practiced in New York City, fell in love with European art, like a lot of his contemporaries, Frick, Carnegie, Mr. Corcoran, etc. Traveled a lot through Europe. His mother had a summer home in Southampton Village. He came out to visit her. He felt that the village should have an art museum, and he just happened to have the art. So he bought the property in Southampton Village, hired Grosvenor Atterbury to design a building purpose-built for his collection of plaster casts of classical sculpture and 15th century Italian pictures. And it was a beautiful little museum. It was called the Art Gallery of Southampton. He died in 1928. And when he died, his heirs did not know what to do with that little museum. And, of course, the Depression and all of the pressures. So his heirs donated the property, the building, and his collection to the village of Southampton. And the village did its best to take care of it, which it couldn't really do because they weren't professionals. And in 1950, a woman by the name of Rebecca Bowling Littlejohn took over the museum at the behest of the village trustees. She chartered the museum through the state of New York as the Parrish Art Museum to honor Mr. Parrish. But she changed the mission, took it away from Italian pictures and classical sculpture to a museum of American art with a special focus on the East End of Long Island, and then gave 300 works of art from her collection to form the core. So when we moved from the village of Southampton on Job's Lane to Watermill, we only took what became the Parrish Art Museum from 1950. So the cast of classical sculpture, the Italian pictures, the building and the grounds remain with the village of Southampton.
It's great.
So it's a crazy story. I mean, it's
Right.
really wonderful. So we got a new mission in 1950, and then we got a new building in 2012.
It's a gorgeous building.
Thank you.
And I know, Andrea, you're largely responsible for what happens inside that building.
Yes.
Both art and program.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about what's in there now and what we can expect in the future.
Okay. Well, so I'm responsible for everything programmatic that happens in the building. So anything outside of the actual exhibition making is probably something that I worked on. Some of our very popular recurring programs that started in Southampton are now traveling with us to Watermill, and one of those is what we call Pachachika, which are short format lectures, about 7 minutes each, by 10 members of the creative community, and these are wildly popular. We have standing room only for these events. But what we decided to do is to really look at a broad cross-section of the community and cast a very wide net for how we define creativity, because there's a creative process in every profession. So these Pachachikas, which again have 10 presenters in one night, will have artists, chefs, musicians, dressmakers, architects, designers, people in the fashion industry. We've even had fishermen, we've had bookmakers, and they talk for 7 minutes about what they do and tie it into the creative process, which is, relates directly to the parish's mission of revealing, the creative process. So these are hugely popular and a great way to see what the composition of our community truly is and what made this area so appealing to artists for the last 150 years.
Now, does that occur in the room that's kind of to the west end? There's like an auditorium type of room?
Yes, yes. So that's the Liechtenstein Theater, and it will operate as a cinema, as a lecture hall, as a place for kind of cabaret style seating. It's a multi-purpose room, so the chairs can be removed and it can be used in many different ways.
Now, is there a regular schedule for these events or a way people can find out when to go?
Oh, absolutely. Well, the website, the web is the way to go. parishart.org is our website. You can sign up to be on our email list and find out about these programs. We also have a new initiative that launched with the building. It's called Platform. And it's a kind of artist in residence program where we invite an artist or a collective into the building for about a 3-month period to develop public programs. So this is a way to really actively engage our audiences and to allow artists to co-create the content of what happens in the building. So each time you come, you'll have a different experience. So we've started out with a visual artist in residence named Hope Sandro, and she was really the right choice for our first platform artist because she has lived here for a number of years and researched the area, the land use, the history of the Parrish family, the history of William Merritt Chase. Her studio, which is on land that William Merritt Chase once painted on, is where she conducts all of her projects. So she came into the parish really looking at a long history of the museum and brought in some artifacts from the past. She also brought in other artists as collaborators to develop performances on site. And we opened the building with 2 performances that Hope Sandro brought in. One was by Sir Rodney Sir, who set up a table in the lobby and offered free advice all day over a 3-day period. To our amazement, he had lines of people waiting. It wasn't prescriptive, and there was no definition of what kind of advice you could ask for. So that was a great way to invite the community in to say, the first thing you encounter is someone offering you a chance to ask any question that might help direct your life or the future, your experience in the building.
Now, the Hamptons area has long been a center for the arts and culture, but I feel like we've just entered a new, even greater era in the arts in the Hamptons. We have Parrish Art Museum, which is really a world-class institution. We have the Longhouse Preserve. We have the Watermill Center.
Right.
Suddenly, we have all these incredible institutions doing really innovative, cutting-edge work. You talked a little bit about the performing arts side, and I know there's also a concessionaire. John Kalwanko is from Art of Eating, is running a concessionaire. That's new to the parish. But let's talk a little bit about the art inside. And I don't, maybe Terry, you're best. I don't know who best to ask this question to. So I know you're doing some local artists there, because I know when
almost everybody we show is local to a certain extent.
To a certain extent.
Our mission really is to exhibit and celebrate American art primarily, although we do have some European artists, with a special focus on the East End of Long Island, the creative legacy of
Sure.
our region and how that is basically reverberated throughout the world. So in the course of the 12,300 square feet of exhibition space that we have now available to us, as opposed to 4,500 on Job's Lane, we can do special exhibitions and show the permanent collection at the same time. Right now, for example, our inaugural special exhibition is Malcolm Morley, Painting, Paper, Process. Malcolm Morley, British artist, lived in the United States for most of his career, and a large part of it in Brookhaven. So that makes him a local artist, even though he has an absolutely international reputation, and he's a world-class artist who's recognized everywhere. In our permanent collection installation that we have up right now, it's 7,000 square feet of permanent collection. So now, for the first time in the history of the parish, people can actually see what we have. We have one room that is dedicated to contemporary artists. Right now on view are works by John Chamberlain, Brian Hunt, Eric Fischel, April Gornick, Joe Zucker. All of these artists are artists with international reputations who have published everywhere, shown in almost every major museum in the world.
But are also local.
They are also local. We have a room of landscape paintings from the 19th century to the present. Includes works by William Merritt Chase and Fairfield Porter, all of whom are international, but who are local talent.
I noticed a large work by Richmond Burton, who I know
Yes.
personally, who's a local artist,
Yes.
but is also emerging as a national, international artist as well.
So that's the beauty of our region, is that we are different from any other place in the world because of the fact that we were right in the center of one of the most creative communities really in the world. Except for maybe 15th century Venice,
Sure.
I can't think of another time or place in history that has fomented the same kind of incredible working artists that we have.
For artists in the community, is there a process if they aspire to have a piece shown at the Parrish Art Museum? What would they do? Would they contact the museum, send an email, a photograph?
They can contact me or our chief curator, Alicia Longwell, through the website. We also have a great project that we do every couple of years called Artists Choose Artists. And for that project, which Andrea actually oversees, we invite between 7 and 9 jurors who are artists that have a relationship to the East End, who are well on in their career. People like April Gornick, for example,
Sure.
who have done this for us. And then we put out a call for entries for anyone within our zip code. And people apply, and Andrea can explain a little bit how that works. And then our 9 jurors go through all of those applicants, and they select a few people to visit in their studios, mentor, talk to, and then select one artist to show along with their own work. So you end up with an exhibition that's cross-generational, and you also have set up a kind of a mentoring situation so that younger artists, emerging artists, can then meet and talk with and have studio visit with a more established artist. And those have proven to be incredible programs, really great, and have certainly surfaced some very interesting artists that I certainly didn't know about.
So now, to visit the museum, the hours is it open 7 days a week?
We're open 6 days a week.
6 days a week.
We are open from 11 o'clock until 6, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. And on Friday, we're open from 11 to 8.
Okay.
And a lot of our programs, our films and our pachakachas and some of our other things that we do on Friday evening at 6 o'clock. And of course, as you mentioned, we have a fabulous cafe. And so people can come, grab a
gift
bite
shop
to eat,
too, right?
and a gift shop. Come shop, eat,
You know, I
look.
did some of my holiday shopping there, so.
Well, it's a good thing. A lot of
it's
people
great.
are, actually.
Yeah,
it's really
It's
terrific.
terrific. Now, in terms of, well, to get in the door, is a suggested donation or a fixed donation?
It's a fixed donation. It's $10.
Okay.
It's $8 for seniors, and children 18 and under are always free. We also have a membership, big membership program, and you can join for as little as $50 or as much as $500 or even $5,000 to help support the museum. And I will say that our membership has grown very dramatically since we opened our doors. The other thing I wanted to mention, talking about moving to the Switzerland of the Hamptons and this whole idea of the Field of Dreams, build it, you know, because people really want it. Our opening weekend was November 10th, 11th, and 12th. In those 3 days, we had more than 7,000 people.
Oh my God.
And we've been in business for, you know, basically what, a month now? And we've had more than 16,000 visitors. It's been absolutely overwhelming. The response has been so wonderful.
And a lot of foreigners coming to visit as well. I know you said that we've extended our zip code, you know, tracking across all of Long Island and to Manhattan, but we're getting people traveling across the country. I was asked to give directions from New York City for public transport for someone coming from Korea. On the weekends, it's really obvious we have an international crowd frequenting the building.
Boy, and that's really going to just help the whole local community in terms of tourism, people, hotels, restaurants.
It will be a
really
destination.
It will be.
Yeah.
I've seen you know, blog posts about it coming from Paris. I mean, people are really and
people are going to come here just for this museum, aren't they?
Yeah, we've had busloads of people coming.
Incredible.
Yeah.
It is incredible. But then they'll stay and they'll
Enjoy
come
our
into the
beaches.
They'll go to the beaches.
Shops.
So and they'll stay in our hotels and they'll eat in our restaurants.
What about school groups? Are you reaching out to some of the schools to get some kids in there?
Oh, yes.
Huge
Inspire
amounts of
them
school
to
groups.
love the arts or become artists?
We have huge busloads of schools. Now we've
already.
always had a very strong education program. We work with the Southampton and Tuckahoe school districts. We are both in the schools and in the museum. We have a curriculum-based program. We do have also a student art project that we do for Family Month. It will be in February this year, and we work with the art teachers and the principals of the school, and we actually show their work. So we encourage, you know, really emerging artists to be involved, and we do visual literacy, and we're very integrated. And now, of course, we're reaching out to the East Hampton School District, and we have kids coming from Sag Harbor and all over the place. Having the permanent collection on view really makes it much easier for schools because they're things that they know will always be on view and they can build programs around it.
So now, how did you end up as director of the Parrish Art Museum? You're not from the local community,
No,
right?
I'm not.
So you are now.
I am
You're
now.
certainly a community member.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you ended up here in
Yes, I can actually.
Watermill, Southampton?
It's a kind of an interesting trajectory. I was born in Asheville, North Carolina. My undergraduate degree is in studio art from Syracuse University. I thought I was going to be an artist. Turns out that I'm really not the type who can sit in a studio and make something out of nothing. So I went back to school after some life experience. I was in the Peace Corps. I lived in Western Samoa. Went back and got my master's degree in museum studies. Started my career at the Oakland Museum in California and then made my way back east. Worked at the New Museum of Contemporary Art in New York for many years. Was the curator of contemporary art at the Corcoran Gallery of Art for 12 years. And then decided to make the move up from curator to director. Went to the University of Houston in Texas to become the director of the Blaffer Art Museum. And it was actually in Texas where I met Andrea, who was in charge of her own program. And then when I came to the Parrish, largely because we have a lot of friends, my husband's an artist, we have a lot of friends here. My brother has a home in Sag Harbor. Chuck Close is a very close colleague. All of them kind of convinced me to apply for the job. I thought the idea of building a major museum for this community would be very exciting. And then when I got established, I called Andrea and said, would you like to come and join us and make a great new program here? And
that's great.
And you did.
Yes.
Yeah, Andrea, tell us a little more about yourself, too. So Texas, we know you met in Texas.
Right, but I'm actually a Long Island girl. I grew up in Freeport. My dad was in the boat business for 60 years. And I moved to Texas in 1995 as part of an artist residency program called the CORE program, which is at the Museum of Fine Arts. When I finished my tenure in that program, I started a nonprofit arts organization in an old church building in Houston. It was called Aurora Picture Show, like the Aurora Borealis. And we just were really a platform for experiments. We were a theater, we were a cinema, we were just a place for artists to congregate. And I think that's what Terry was attracted to, was that she thought that I could bring this kind of energy and participatory spirit to the Parrish Art Museum, because the Aurora had begun working with museums throughout Houston, like the Menil Collection and the Museum of Fine Arts. And so what I bring to the Parrish is this very hands-on approach to working with community and working with artists. And I think I've been here, it's my 2-year anniversary this month, and I think people are pretty floored by how many connections and networks I've tapped into. And I really enjoy connecting the dots. I don't think artists are just out here for the landscape. They're out here for the community and the other types of professions that are out here. So connecting those, you know, making sure that those relationships are really highlighted.
Sure. So,
yeah, I think Andrea's program has been one of the real changes in the programmatic direction of the Parrish, is this outreach into the community, not just the visual artists, but also the writers, the performers, the video artists, the baymen, the dressmakers, and it's all part of our community. And we want everybody to feel like the Parrish is their place.
Sure.
And where they can come.
Would you say, since we only have about a minute left, is that your dream for the Parrish, is to really reach the community and inspire people?
Yes. I want the Parrish to be the center for community and cultural engagement for the entire East End of Long Island.
That's great, and it really is just a gorgeous building. And I really want to encourage anybody who hasn't visited the Parrish yet to hurry up and do so. I think you're going to be just amazed and inspired, and feel like this has really always been a part of the community. And I think it is playing such a central role. And I can't wait. I've already seen this collection. I'm looking forward to the next. What's the date that things start to change there?
The special exhibition galleries will roll over in February when we do our student art project, and then in April we'll be doing a major survey of drawings by Alice Acox. The permanent collection installation will roll over in January of 2014.
Oh, that's great. Well, Terry Sultan, thank you, Director of the Parrish Art Museum. Andrea Grover, Curator of Special Projects. Thank you so much for coming on the first show of South Fork Focus.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting us.
Thanks, Jay.
It was really fun.
Yeah.